It was a bright and clear afternoon. At exactly 12:29, the presidential motorcade made its way down Houston Street and entered Dealey Plaza. Little did they know, high above on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, an assassin had a clear view of President Kennedy as the motorcade passed below. Then, 3 shots rang out. And these are the bullet trajectory. What followed would spark decades of controversy. The bullet trajectories with the bullet curving through the limousine, the autopsy with missing signatures, and the infamous two-shooter theory, all of it remains a mystery to this day. Since the President Donald J. Trump has released another 80,000 JFK files, we'll take a deeper look at the Central Intelligence Agency alleged cover-up. More details all in the video ahead.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. And first things first, JFK shot first. We're starting off with the controversy already, but no. Today we have a special guest on. We have our buddy Drake Allen on the show today, and the reason he's here is because we have always had like a big love of the JFK conspiracy ever since in high school. Whenever you watch these old videos, and it's like going, what really happened to JFK? It's like we've always loved just having the conversation. And that joke that Chad told that JFK shot first was the thing that just like united our passion about this thing. It's like, well, poor Lee Harvey Oswald was just shooting in self-defense. JFK was they cut that footage out of the Zapruder.
Yeah.
He's out there just wild.
No, actually, you're honestly undercutting it. It was actually way better when Chad told it in real time because we were arguing about who shot JFK. Nobody really knew at the time, obviously, and
still don't.
Yeah. And Chad was like, "Well, you know why you got shot, right?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Shot first. It was just a turn fire." And I died laughing. I mean, you got to have the context to go along with it because we're sitting here trying to put 2 and 2 together,
He said he visits Texas.
Yeah.
They just hand him some pistols. He's just out there shooting and firing. And JFK's like, this man. And Lee Harvey's like, this is a madman. I got to
That's the
protect
president. I don't care. Take him down.
So anyway, obviously, the Trump has been releasing the JFK documents, and it's
6 million pages.
like 80,000 more pages dropped, and that's what's happening here. Like what we were talking about, it's like it doesn't matter how many files they drop; they're just going to dump so much information that we're not going to be able to discern what's true, what's not, what matters, what's not. I mean, that's the whole point. And the whole point of this thing is that people are going to just pick on the little documents that fit their narrative or fit their what they want it to be, and that's what's absolutely insane about this whole thing. It's just like there's so much information out there now that like what's real, what's not. How do we even know? I mean, will anybody ever be able to discern the truth out of this other than the people who were actually there and know what's going on? So I don't know. I mean, there's a ton of crap going on. I mean, the fact that I mean, obviously, we all think the LBJ had the most to gain by Kennedy being killed. It turns out LBJ was instrumental in how the motorcades were set up, and he was trying to get a different person set up in the car with Kennedy, and
the fact that he actually had a relationship with
Jack
Ruby
or Jack Rubenstein. Now there's even a bunch of theories out there going that the Mossad had this done. The Mossad agents, Israeli, Mossad, Israeli Secret Service had this done. So there's just so much out there.
I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was talking about how Trump's probably should be concerned about how much is leaked, and not in the sense that, like, you were talking about LBJ's involvement with JFK. I think he's also involved with MLK. And I think that the liberals would find it and Democrats would find it very appalling to find out that their own was killed by their own. And I think that if you could understand Trump's position, it would be nice to play that card. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you actually wear that jersey, not the Democrat jersey, the American flag. And so releasing that to the stupid Democrats, to the stupid liberals, will be internalized and perceived to them as the federal government did it, not the liberals, not the Democratic Party. And so to his disadvantage, he can't publicize that, in my opinion, to an informative, rational audience, because they can't internalize it in a manner that allows them to decipher the difference between the parties and how they operate.
Well, I mean, but here's the thing, though. It's like the Democrats put together that commission,
the Warren Commission.
The Warren Commission, where it's like basically their conclusion was the conservative party did this.
I haven't heard
Like-
that word in a long time since all this has
the
come
Warren
out. By the
Commission-
way,
that's what I'm saying. It's like
the Warren
the-
Commission.
nobody.
yeah.
It's like I mean, Andrew Clavin from the Daily Wire talked about this. Nobody's going to remember the actual truth. They're going to remember that that
true.
Oliver Stone film. The JFK conspiracy thing, where
What's that,
basically they
Kevin
talk
Costner?
about the war. It's about the Warren Commission,
Yeah.
and freaking Kevin Costner comes to this. It was the Republicans and the conservatives that had Kennedy assassinated, and you're just like. That's what people remember because Hollywood rewrites history. And again, Hollywood's working in tandem with the freaking federal government to rewrite history to benefit what? The federal government.
Which, if we want to delve deep dive into that super hardcore, I mean, we quite literally, like, we all know that Diddy is probably a CIA
Asset.
Oh well, yeah. If you're talking about as long as he was able to run around the free world and do everything he was doing.
I was talking about getting dirt on. I'm talking about getting dirt on people and using them.
Yeah, that too. I don't think that you're able to, like I said, run around, do all that illegal stuff he was doing, and also without piling up incriminating evidence against others. To be leveraged against with other organizations. I heard somebody say this: getting arrested and going to jail from a cop is like playing checkers. Being arrested by the FBI and being indicted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation is like chess. They'll let you live your life. They will let you hang yourself, and they'll use you for your information. And honestly, what's the hip hop community calls it? Dry snitching.
Yeah.
When you're telling on yourself and you don't know you're telling on yourself. That's called dry snitching, and so they'll just let them dry snitch themselves out.
Yeah.
I mean,
like that.
Yeah, as we saw from Snowden, the movie Snowden,
Mm-hmm.
like that's what the CIA's job is. Their job is leverage against people.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't really see anybody who
Yeah.
does a federal level offense like really get hardcore jail times. Like, if we call on you, you will pick up.
Yeah, exactly, because they'll be more willing. Because at that point, the evidence has been so incriminating and it's so piled against, and the time in which that they would have to serve is so is insurmountable. That's why the RICO Act came into play. Not to really get off course here, but a lot of times snitching was holding word to the code was very easy because time served was just time served back in the day. Until then, before you were affiliated with criminal organizations, or then all of a sudden, whether you partook in that act or not, you just now got affiliated with that because that's an institutional organization, and you're going to be incriminated even harder. So now you're serving 20, 30 years, mandatory. Mandatory. So now all of a sudden guys are reevaluating their life. They're going, 5 years is one thing, 20.
Yep.
That's a lifetime.
That's a long time. Here, I'll tell you who did what real quick.
Yeah.
I'll start singing like a songbird, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. So that's where we're at right now. So, and there's a lot. I was watching Charlie Kirk the other day, and
Who's
he had
Charlie
that
Kirk?
Charlie Kirk. He's like he's a
young conservative
yeah.
commentator.
He runs Turning Point USA. He basically goes to college campuses and debates college kids.
gotcha.
And but he's good. But he had a guy on who basically was in Nixon's inner circle, and
Roger Stone.
Yeah,
by the
Roger
way.
Stone was the guy's name, and he's a big he wrote the book Who Killed JFK, or LBJ, the man who killed Kennedy or whatever, and he talked about how again he set up how Kennedy's motorcade was going down. He was actually trying to get somebody else in the car with Kennedy. It was
his chief political rival from
in
Texas.
Dallas. Yeah. And he was pissed whenever he goes, no, JFK was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I need to be seen with my opponent, to unify the party. We're not going to do it that way. I'm not going to do it. And he was pissed the night before the thing. And then what's even more interesting is they said that in the footage or whatever, or not even in the footage, but they said that LBJ was already ducking and hiding in his car before the shots rang out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that goes to show you. I mean, and then again, they also said something along the lines of like, we have to get this. We need to just put this information out there so American people can have closure. Not that the American people want to know the truth, just so we can get closure on this situation. So that's what's absolutely nuts about this whole thing. It's not about the truth. It's just about giving people a pill to swallow. It's like, here's a hard to swallow pill.
Yeah,
take it.
Well, it's always been that too. And before, most people were getting off of this narrative, and I actually kind of was wondering why I was going towards this earlier, but I remember now. I was talking about the RICO Act and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Before, it was digested that, and nobody said this yet, really, just because the narrative's completely gone away. Because now there's more potent information out, but that a lot of the reasoning behind it all would have been from, you know, the Italian mafia rebelling on Robert Kennedy's.
Yeah, extremely hardcore going after the mob.
So you were talking about earlier about information that's being put out, and that's pretty, from a historical perspective and writing that document down from a timeline, a chronological, that seems like an important event to write down in history, and it'd be easy to dupe people into thinking like, because that sounds important, you know what I mean, to a person like, whoa, man, the criminal organization was involved in it. Like, that's just like, hey, I don't care who you are, that'll tug on the heartstrings of a rational person, like, you know what I mean? So the level of manipulation in the narrative is at an all-time high, more than what people I would think could wrap their mind around. Yeah. You know what I mean? Really, I do. I mean, honestly, how much there's so much stuff that's come out this week. I'm like, dude, I never heard of that. Did you? Like the shot potentially coming from behind the car, potentially, you know, or wherever. I'm like, I never heard of that. I heard of the umbrella man. I maybe heard of the grassy knoll. I never heard of the shot right behind the car. Never heard that.
There's the one that the Secret Service agent in the car with them that turns around, that's in the front seat, turns
potentially
around
shot. Yeah, somebody told me that at work too. Another thing, we were talking about this before the show started. I'm just going to say it now. I'll transition to it. I'm not a big firearm guy. You guys are more than me, but I got a privilege enough to be around people that probably know 2 and 3 times the amount of firearms that you guys do.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's just privileged enough to be around. So I was just a fly on the wall, and that gun, you already know because we were talking about it, but the gun that Lee Harvey Oswald was caught with and claimed to have shot 3 shots out, which that's here nor there. That's another conversation with the residue and all that. But the model of the gun is an Italian Carcano. An Italian Carcano is an 1891 infantry rifle. So just to give a timeline perspective, that's 75 years later after the invention of that instrument that guy chose to use. So you can't explain to me that he didn't have a better resource for accuracy purposes. On number 2, in the firearm community, this model of firearm is historically known as one of the most inaccurate bolt action rifles. And so
and then it turns out that he was apparently a bad shot in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So he's already a bad shooter. And on top of the fact that, I mean, you know, maybe he was up there. Maybe he was actually like, I'm going to save the president. I see the other shooters, you know, and he just misses, you know.
And I thought you were getting ready to say this. He's special needs, dude. He's
he is.
retarded. I'm sorry, he's retarded, dude.
The FBI and CIA had already been screening his mail.
Yeah, your brother was telling me about that.
I was like, he
was on the FBI's and the CIA's radar
months before
advance because he went to Russia and
that's what I told him too. He went to. That's the only reason is because he literally has Russian ties.
He's a communist, so obviously he's special needs, but
right. Yeah, I love that.
So clearly this guy was not all there. And again, but
sorry. Hold on, I got to circle back around. We always have to keep bringing it back to the.
Sorry.
I got to circle back. I got to circle back. But no, talking about the information published. So now we're going back to that. Off of that, me and you used to argue all the time. Like, I'm like, dude, you can't tell me that he made that shot with 3 racks on the bolt real quick coming around the corner of the thing. And you're like, so we're talking about information being published at the time, after all this is going on, before all these documents were released. There were people doing studies and trying to replicate this situation with the same rifle and the same type of shot and distance, and people were believing it. You know what I mean? Because why else wouldn't we? Because it's being, like I told you earlier, we have nothing else to go off of. So here's a demonstration of what we thought Lee Harvey was doing. We have to believe it, I guess, you know. It takes too much effort not to believe something without having any evidence.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But I mean, even that, you know, it's along the lines of like the shooting thing. It's not that difficult. Like, I mean, you remember watching the Fat Electrician did the whole video essay on the greatest sniper that ever lived, White Feather.
Yeah.
And Mythbusters did a thing where they talked about how
shot through the scope.
He shot through the scope.
Yep, which is, I talked about this yesterday with Josh Desmond. It's not possible.
No, it is possible.
No, it's not.
No, it is.
No,
they did it live on YouTube.
Okay, well, Carlos Hathcock.
Yes.
Okay, was the one who first claimed to do so.
Yes.
So if you're not shooting that directly straight on from that trajectory, that bullet's actually got to go through that exact scope, and that exact. I mean, so unless he had that exact thing lined up, which
He did. They were aiming at each other.
Okay, in the MythBusters.
Yeah.
Yeah, in MythBusters, I don't believe that happened in history. You see what I'm saying in the field? No way.
No, MythBusters didn't do it right because they didn't have the right scope,
Sure.
and they didn't have the right rifle and the right ammunition.
Okay.
Hathcock did it in real life, and then
he didn't do that in real life.
He did do it in real life.
I understand. He hit the scope in real life. He didn't. He did not directly line himself up the way you just explained the MythBusters did.
Yeah.
So no, he did not do that, and it has to be lined up that exact way for that bullet to go through that the way you're explaining. So no, he did not. Josh Desmond was explaining this to me. There's no way that at however many kilometers, Carlos Hathcock was lined up the exact way you explained to me those MythBusters guys were. No, sir. Now, I believe he did hit the scope, most certainly, and then it may have trajectoried and still domed his ass. Now, but I do believe it is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I don't think it's possible in the field of play of infantry because there's no way that exact alignment, like you said, MythBusters can prove that, but that ain't happening in war. That ain't happening in war. There's no way. No way. We talked about this all day in the gun room yesterday.
Oh, you got to watch the Fat Electrician's video.
I'm cool on watching MythBusters' fucking 20-minute video about how they lined the guns up perfectly to see how they went through. I believe that. I don't discern that that's not true. What I discern from truth is that is not happening in reality in an actual fucking fight.
Anyway,
So, yeah.
but we'll get back to the whole.
It's okay. We can agree to disagree.
No, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong because I'm agreeing that I think what you're saying is true. So I'm not wrong. I'm acknowledging your truth, but I'm telling you this: Carlos Hathcock did not put that bullet all the way through there. He's claimed to have, and you should totally do your research on how many people have critically acclaimed his dishonest truth on that. So I promise you should actually go up to the gun room in Shields and have a conversation with guys who know a little more than you guys do on that.
We'll see. Well,
We'll get back to
I'll
JFK.
forward you the video.
That's okay. I'm cool on MythBusters. The gay guys from
No,
England.
no. I'm talking about Fat Electrician's video where he actually does the test. He does the experiment with the right ammo, right scope, and right ammunition.
Lined up perfectly.
No, not lined up perfectly.
Lined up perfectly. Well, then how's it going to go through the scope?
I was gonna go through the scope because they were
lined
looking
up
at
perfectly.
because they were looking at each other.
Right, so it's lined up perfectly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so back onto this. So again, talking about all that the shooting. I mean, it's clearly possible to make that shot. Now, again, is it possible for someone who's not good at shooting to make that shot? Probably not. And again, what is it with all these assassins being like special needs people? Like that weird guy that tried to shoot Trump, like borderline retarded. You know?
Yes.
Like all of them. And again, that's how you know. Like the FBI's got to be coaching these guys into doing these tasks, or the CIA. You know, I mean, it's just like, this is nuts, absolutely nuts. That I mean, again, the FBI and the CIA, they always fail. Like they were on say it. You know, it's like that Bart Simpson meme. It's like say it again.
Say the line. He was on our radar.
We knew he was there the whole time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, it's like everything is so convenient. You know, and then can you pull up that thing I sent you from Ben Shapiro the other day?
Oh yeah, you'll have to. Yeah,
I'll give you a minute. So anyway, you know, and then we can drop down this whole Jack Ruby thing. You know, it's like where Jack Ruby kills, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald. It's like, why'd you kill him? He killed my president. It's like Jack Rubenstein has mob ties and probably Mossad ties.
Yeah.
Like, why would a Jewish guy be upset that a Catholic president who was like, I mean, like we all know the Catholics and the Jewish community do not have, there's no love lost between them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why was he so, my president, you know, it's like, there's no way.
No, it just goes back to the narrative. He had affiliations with the Italian mafia, and they wanted to spin that narrative. That's pretty simple and straightforward. They had Jack Ruby assassinate the person who assassinated the president, and Jack Ruby has direct crime ties. And
wait, and what's his name? Mentally challenged Lee Harvey Oswald couldn't be like, I met with this guy in this place called Langley, and they're like, nope, that can't happen.
Just to get people to understand how crime was interpreted by people in society, this guy who Jack Ruby was affiliated with was an organized criminal, and at that time there was no RICO law. again, they serve time and we're out. So yes, I do. I mean, I think they really spun the narrative of that the Italian mafia was involved in JFK's assassination, and this is during a time period where killing people was for a criminal organization nothing, because they would just serve time and get out.
Yeah.
So
Have it pulled up if you were.
they just serve time and get out.
Yeah, and again, this does not bode well from Ben Shapiro. Like this whole thing, like he's basically trying to go, if we don't know, why does it matter who shot JFK? It's like, what, dude, Ben, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I mean, the American people, the fact that we have a healthy curiosity.
Sounds like Chad right there. I don't know. I guess it was freaking Lee Harvey.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think it's good that the American people have a healthy skeptic. There is nothing better about the American people that we have a healthy skepticism of the government and the official narrative.
Here's what I tell people. It would be unintelligent for you to not think for yourself and to take everything at face value and believe every piece of information you're told. Maybe it's not true and maybe it is true, but it is truly unintelligent for you to not think for yourself, and it is completely irrational to go off somebody else's opinion and information without reestablishing it on your own.
Yes,
completely unintelligent.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. And this last election, the last really 2 Trump elections have proved that, because nobody trusts the media anymore because all they've done is lie about Trump. So that's what's opened up this new skepticism of, I don't think that the Lee Harvey Oswald was the guy that killed JFK.
Again, healthy skepticism of government is the most important thing that we have as American citizens. And again, I mean, imagine if we were all just like, I think the government has secrets and they shouldn't have to be held accountable or tell anybody about it.
Also, you guys are, I can articulate this a little bit better. I feel like I think that my opinion on this is now very widespread. And before, the best way to be as concise as possible is it was more taboo to believe these sort of things, because it would be more conspiring, more theoretical, more non-factual at the time. And so therefore I would be seen as out there. So no offense, my opinion over time has really never wavered.
Yeah.
More people's opinions have probably wavered than not, like you, as evidence has probably come out, as because you believed Lee Harvey did it, and to be honest with you, as this comes out, I think you're going to be shocked to find out that LBJ was involved in JFK and MLK. 100%.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean,
and I always have thought that
LBJ is the president that said we'll have those N-words voting Democrat
100%.
for the next 100 years. That's your party, folks. I mean, Democrats, we'll have those N-words voting Democrat the next 100 years because we got the right story put in place. Again, that's what it is. It's about the narrative. Like you want the truth. Let me tell you something, folks. The truth might not be what you want to hear. The narrative is, though. You guys, this is why the media and stuff puts narratives out the way that they do. It's like, this is the narrative we want the public to think about, and we want what we want them to believe. The truth could be very dirty, very ugly, and you might not want to know. The reason they push narratives over truth is because the truth could literally tear a nation apart.
That's why I told you I think Trump's pretty hesitant to
release that. For sure.
That's exactly why I told you I think that Trump's pretty hesitant to release that, and that LBJ.
I mean, what if it came out? It wasn't just LBJ. What if the Democrats and the Republicans were united in their absolute hatred of JFK and be like, hey, you know what? He's bad. He's bad for business. He's bad for the status quo. The Republicans and the Democrats go, we all agree. Let's get rid of JFK. He's just too much. He's too charismatic. He's too powerful.
There's no Republican that colluded with LBJ.
For sure. That's what I'm saying. It's like that could be the truth, though. The truth is there were a lot of people that just came together and said, let's make this happen. What is it? The Illuminati got together and said, hey, JFK ain't going our way.
No, I think that was LBJ. I mean, LBJ was involved in MLK. Both, pure simple. I mean, I've thought the same thing since I've been 18. I mean, LBJ's involved in JFK and he's involved in MLK. He's the only one that stands to have any sort of advantage from that. And I don't see why the criminal organization would risk, the Italian mafia would ever risk any sort of.
And he had relations with Jack Ruby, right?
Who?
LBJ. He knew Jack Ruby personally.
I don't see why. Hold on, let me finish my sentence. I don't see why the Italian mafia would ever risk being involved in a homicide with the president of the United States.
No.
I don't. That also too never checked out to me. That math don't math. If I was trying to extort people run a racketeering system, sell drugs, avoid paying taxes, I think the last thing that I would do is put myself in an assassination homicide attempt on the president of the United States. I'd try to probably be low key.
Well, it's like whenever in World War II. I mean, people don't know, but it's like the mob guarded the channels. Like, I mean, their mob affiliated boats and stuff would like guard the harbors and stuff because they were like, hey, you know, you guys are acting against the American will, and we don't have a way to bring you to court, but we know you exist, so guard us against the Nazis, effectively. And they're like, okay, yeah, as long as you give us operational freedom, do whatever we want, sure. Which again explains why things like Athens, Tennessee could happen because, you know, basically criminal rackets could start up, and then whenever the veterans got home, they're like, no, this ain't gonna fly anymore.
Yes, 100%.
Law and order has returned.
Yeah. It's I don't know.
Again, and this is one of those things where it's just like so much information is dropped. How do we discern? And what I mean, like there could literally just be one document in there. That's the one document that's the truth. But it's like there's all this irrelevant stuff in these 80,000 pages that, you know, it's just going to lead you down rabbit holes that aren't even the right thing. So it's like the more information we got, the less we know. You know, we're about the same as where we were. And then you have, like, again...
No, you're not.
Articles
you're better off than where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're better off than where you were. So I would.
More information
You're wrong
is better
on
than,
that.
No, more
yeah.
information is better. No, but I'm saying is...
Most certainly you're wrong on that.
But now
because,
there's so much, it's like, what's
that's
real,
fine.
what's a rabbit trail?
That's totally everybody, and that's totally for everybody to...
And then you have people like Ben Shapiro writing articles, why does it matter who shot JFK?
Yeah.
What do you mean, why does it matter? I think it matters who shot...
What does he say? Where did he write that?
So I'll read it to you right here real quick. It says, now, why would Ben Shapiro have a blatant, atrocious take on JFK? No evidence. Bro, there are mountains of evidence that there was a conspiracy and cover-up. This was America's president, the rise of the intelligent state to power. I wonder why Ben would say this.
Yeah, this article here is posted by people who are like believe that it's the Mossad that were in charge, and Jack Ruby was a Mossad agent and whatnot. So
yeah, more importantly, that's like what you're getting at is you don't know what to believe, and that's totally true. And multiple things can be true at once. Everybody needs to realize that singularity truth is also
on the right
a
these
rarity.
days. It was popular.
So if anybody ever believes that one thing is true, then that is how all things will be. Then you are a little bit foolish.
Yeah, here's his take right here. I'll let you listen to it. It's gonna
Popular on the left, and now it's become increasingly popular on the right. The kind of let's just ask questions. We'll ask who really killed JFK. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
what's wrong with asking questions?
And then you're like,
man?
well, do you have any evidence of the thing that you are presupposing? Well, no, I'm not making any accusations. I just know I don't believe the story that I'm being told. I know not to trust the authorities. Like, well, that's fine, but do you have like any evidence? Like evidence, not just supposition. I said, well, you're part of it, aren't you? Yes, you're part of it. The reason that you're so defensive about all this is, I don't care who killed JFK. I mean, I do, because it's really interesting, but I noticed that the calendar says 2025 and he was killed in 1963. And so my opinion about who killed JFK has about as much relevance as who killed William McKinley, or James Garfield, which is to say not an enormous amount.
Some would say you want to understand
Some
the past
conspiracy
to understand the future. You want to know the past to understand the present. Mm-hmm. It's like,
and also there's clear motives behind most of the other presidential assassinations.
Yeah,
the JFK one, the motives are still pretty unclear.
You know, he doesn't have to care about it.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to care about it. No. But what he doesn't have to do is understand why people care about it. Yeah. That's up to, you can do whatever you want. You got the right to choose. You can do whatever you want, buddy. You can tie your shoes or not. But now at the end of the day, you don't need to not understand why people care. Yeah. I think it's pretty evident why people care. Yeah, well, you can not care all you want. I don't care what you do or don't care about.
I mean, I would say this. I mean, that the JFK assassination was the original singularity point in American history, where it shook the foundations of people's trust in the government and in the media.
Yeah, but what was unfortunate is that I don't think the advancement was enough. Oh, this is good. This is a really good point. I'm glad that you said this.
Oh, we're talking technology.
Yeah, I don't think the advancement was enough for us to educate ourselves informative wise, or people like me and you would have done so, and we wouldn't have had as many skeptics conversations as we had. But I can tell you this: I know it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald at this point. As much as here's how you can tell it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald: there wouldn't be 6 million pages published, Corey. I don't publish 6 million pages to continue the same narrative. The same narrative would be the same narrative. Hell, we wouldn't have to put 6 million pages out to tell you the same thing we've been telling you for the last. So here's how we know it ain't him. You know what I mean? But somewhere in there is something. Somewhere in one page is something in there somewhere about something like you're saying. And that's the reality. Now, that we don't know who or what or when or where and how, but we just know, in my opinion, the only one thing that is clear is it was not Lee Harvey. It was not. Certainly not Lee Harvey. Also, we're not even talking about, we did talk about how he's got special needs, but the rifle that was picked up after the assassination attempt was switched out potentially with another one. Lee Harvey's, Oswald's hands were tested for residue and were cleared up with nothing on them. So, I mean, it's just evidence after evidence. That, in my opinion, for sure, certainly, everything that I've always believed since I've educated myself on this is that Lee Harvey Oswald is not the killer. And I said this before the show too with you, Chad, is that if anybody's willing to stand on business and act on trying to assassinate the president of the free world, I think the last thing that you do immediately upon being caught, if you're going to do it in blatant daylight, would be, I'm a patsy. Because if you were a patsy, I think that you would have acted a little bit more in a manner that you were trying to be deceiving and get away with it, But if you're going to be that blatant with it and claim that you're a patsy, that math doesn't math either to me.
Yeah.
That math doesn't math. But it's been, I'm glad it's out, dude. This has been fun being able to talk about it. Like,
it's interesting, man. Like,
well, then it makes people talk about like the magic bullet theory. Well, literally, we were arguing about the scope, so now you can have people argue about the magic bullet theory. Like now you got people literally looking at physics. That's how deep this went. That's how deep this whole thing went to the foundation of that. You got people that were doing the tests like we were talking about. That has nothing to do with the assassination, by the way, but it got people that far down the rabbit hole of doing those kind of firearm testing things. The magic bullet theory where Lee Harvey potentially shot the governor, which had what am I saying this right?
It ricocheted. It went through Kennedy. The theory is it went through Kennedy, and which it is possible. It does ricochet if it hits bones. If it hits bones, it can possibly ricochet.
The governor's seat
was in a different position.
It was elevated.
Yeah.
So he was elevated. He couldn't have been shot higher on his body than if JFK was shot lower on his body, there was evidence on where JFK was shot at there. And so this is the thing. It just makes people argue firearms.
I seen the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Deadshot was able to ricochet those bullets all over the place.
I'm not looking at shit on the internet no more. So it don't matter what you pull up. I don't care. I'm not looking at shit on the internet about what you show me, anything anymore. Seriously, I mean, I hope you understand that. I hope you don't take that personal. I believe whatever you're pulling up to be certainly potentially credible. I don't believe you wouldn't waste my time with that, but I don't care what you're going to show me. I don't mean that in a bad way because, like you said, there's just too much out there for me to believe. I mean, the magic bullet theory, the scope theory, the grassy knoll, the umbrella man, I've had enough. I'm done. Murder, She Wrote. And behind the car, come on, guys.
Just tell me what happened. I want to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is this was the singularity point. This is the event that, shook America's faith in government trust and in the media. And again, it just goes to show you that, the media and the government, they just they're going to put their stuff out and be like, this is what happened, and trust the narrative, nothing but the narrative.
And with the whole Operation Mockingbird, we know that the CIA and FBI are tied together with the media. So if they want information put out in the media, they're going to put it out in the media, and then they're going to go,
if it's wrong,
my sources from the FBI and CIA told me this. He goes, well, unless your source is willing to come forward, it's not a source.
It's the same with COVID. It's like, this shot's going to help you. It didn't prevent COVID. It didn't even seem to stop COVID. So again, trust the government, trust the narrative. Just whatever the government tells you, it's fine.
Yeah. Yep. Here's the thing. We'll end on. I said this is what I said to you, Chad, this morning. I said, nobody's right, and just don't make yourself wrong. You know what I mean? And I mean that. Like, you're not right on whatever you believe. It's probably right, maybe, but don't sit there and believe what you're being told, or you're wrong. I can promise you that. If you believe the one thing you're told, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say.
Again, and it's like with all these document dumps, so I said at the beginning of the video, we're all going to gravitate to that one piece of evidence that makes our theory,
potent. Right.
Yeah, it's like, this is obviously.
Well, like this, he was getting ready to show me something that was going to disapprove what I just said, right? It's just everybody will gravitate towards, well, that's a sticking point. Well, that's a sticking point. Well, this will undo that. Well, that'll undo this. And it doesn't matter what you show me. That's why I said to him, it doesn't matter what you show me. It just, at this point, and there's so many people probably feel that way. It doesn't matter anymore. There's too much out there. It doesn't matter. We all know it's bullshit somewhere. We smell it. Excuse my language. I think that's the first time I cussed. I apologize.
No, it's not.
Sorry about that.
But I mean, this is where we're at, though, man. I mean, the more documents that were released, it seems the less close to the truth we get.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. I mean, it's like we're in the same spot. Even though there's more documents released, we're still spinning our wheels in the same mud. You know, it's like, what happened here? What happened to JFK? We all know that. I mean, I think all of us here agree that LBJ was probably the primary suspect. LBJ was the primary shooter, man. It wasn't Lee Harvey. LBJ had his high-powered rifle. He's like, bam.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry, I got you. So
nobody saw it. JFK actually shot his own self.
It was a suicide.
He pulled out a 1911 and shot himself.
No, he would.
He's like this. I'll show you all you physics. Son. He puts one through his head.
He Epstein himself.
Yeah.
Golly. But no, that's about all I've got for you today. I know that we said it was the JFK drop, but like I said, we don't know much more than what we already knew, and that's why we got Drake on here, because we just all
we have fun talking about it. We really do. We love arguing about this. We say arguing if it's more theorizing. We shouldn't say, because nobody is right. Like, I'm just telling you that right now, really. But you can be wrong if you just take hand in food right out of the mouth, like out of the hand that's being dealt. Like,
spoon here, here, civilian plebe. We're gonna spoon feed you this slop, and you're gonna take it for what it is.
It's just fun to theorize too, and
absolutely
try and figure out the truth to it all.
Well, I think that's about all we've got for you today. This is the Twins with the Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that is all we've got for you today. And remember, JFK shot first. God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
That joke's not in bad taste, right?
Oh, who cares? He's a cheeseburger.